Hey there, welcome. Today I wanted to talk about the lie of living your dream, the toxicity around the perspective that has taken hold in a lot of people's lives, for better or for worse, about live your dream, do what you love, find your passion, and live out of that. And it's funny, it's like a mixture of cynicism and old school thinking, realism, but also just brutal honesty about this, not being too negative, not being dismissive or anything like this. And the reason it's hard to talk about for myself, or maybe for a lot of people, is that there's a few forces that resist talking about the toxicity of living your dream. So one is everyone's dreams are different. So it's a very blanket statement to say live your dream and then expect that people do it. And then there's this whole other area where now that everyone can say live your dream and it's okay, and it's not like in the past where we were more expected to just work a really shitty job for our whole lives and then retire, that perspective is shifting for the positive to not just work a shitty job our whole lives and then retire, which is the other part that's difficult, is that this whole perspective is in rebellion to an old idea that wasn't helping, that wasn't healthy for the human spirit, for the human experience. But now it's kind of attached to the same old mechanisms of guilt and shame and narrow-mindedness. If you aren't living your dream, you're lazy. If you don't live your passion, find your passion, there's something wrong with you. You did something wrong. You made the bad choices. There's nothing stopping you, so it's your own fault. That's another old perspective that is very ingrained in this kind of Western individualist thought, and it's all unhealthy, like almost entirely unhealthy, and I'm going to explain why. So, in the old days, this just suck it up, you work the farm, you work the blacksmith, you work the trade job, the shop, the desk job, whatever, it's just you suck it up, you do it, that's how we do things. You do it stoically, you do it happily, you go home to your, cookie cutter family, you live the cookie cutter life, that's what's expected of you. There's something wrong with you if you don't do that. Okay, now time goes on, we realize that's soul-sucking, it's mentally unhealthy, oftentimes physically unhealthy, whether it's due to overworking or pollution or long periods of time in a bad posture, these sort of things. So we've steered towards living a life that embraces and promotes doing what you love and living your passion and finding your passion and making your dreams come true. Intentionally, this is very positive, this is good, it's a very good shift. The issue lies in how we go about giving that to the world and expecting it of the world, and then how it's not that cut and dry. So, for instance, there's going to be a lot of people that their dream, their passion isn't working. Not as in it's not functional, but like literally it doesn't involve working. Their passion, their dream in life doesn't involve working a set amount of time every week and making income. That's not their dream. That's not what they love to do. And that's okay, that makes sense. Why would that be the case? In a world where there's enough shelter and food and medicine to go around, which there is, by the way, technically, if we were to mathematically, allocate our resources appropriately and not have all this surplus of waste and basically sectioning off segregation of materials, you'd have a lot of people that could survive and live a good life, but they don't need to work necessarily. Or when they do work, it really is the things that they love. But passion, dreams, there are a lot of them. There's a lot of diversity of them. And this comes to the next problem. Well, one, you might not have a dream that aligns with financial income. It might not align with working culture. It might not align with just the area you're in the world. Like maybe you could be a dancer in India and make enough money to live there due to the currency and what everything costs. But the amount of dance and style of dance you like to do in California might be like, well, this isn't going to make you money at all. So there's that. But then there's also this weird expectation that now if you're not doing your dream and making money, you did it wrong. There's something wrong with you. But then people don't understand that to turn any passion into a moneymaker, into something that supports our livelihood, it requires marketing, business, entrepreneurship, graphic design, website development, networking. It requires a lot of other skills, a lot of other timely skills, things that actually take a lot of time to both learn and commit to. And that's the thing. Most of the time, those skills are not the passion of the individual. People that kind of start out big, they already start with a lot of money, a lot of resources, because they quit their engineering job and they have all these savings. They can allocate some of those tasks to a person that is skilled in them or a person that already likes doing those things. But there's a lot of people that will not be able to afford learning those skills or afford someone to do it for them. And there's going to be a lot of people that really dislike those skills. That's really not part of their passion. It's like a completely different path and it's not part of their passion. And that's where I find this is where we dig in deep to this perspective and we just find issue after issue. You're expected to almost have a passion that does make money. If it's not a passion that makes money, it's not a real passion almost. Like it's just like a hobby or an addiction or something. Second, it's very surface level. It's very superficial. It's very, I want to be a painter. Even if I have to do all this other schmoozing and networking and all this other stuff, which I don't like to do, in order to actually make money from painting. That is basically how it's given to the world and how we're meant to digest it, is that you just actually want to do a little bit of what you love and have that be your kind of title and be able to stick that onto your being and feel comfortable with that and confident in that label. But you're supposed to actually suck up any sort of struggle or thing you don't like to do to make that label a success. That's the funny thing, that's the hypocrisy. Well, that's the same as just sucking it up, working a desk job so you can have recreation and food and entertainment and other things you like. That's the same as sucking it up and working, a cleaning job or a manual labor job or a cashier job so you can have recreation, food, and the things you love. It's literally the same thing. You suck up working marketing and networking and business design and website design so you can make money from being a painter and have that thing that you love. It's literally the same thing at the end of the day when you break it down. You do hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of things you don't like to do to have that thing you do like to do. And that's the funniest part, is that for some people, that's okay, they're willing to do that. But it's kind of funny how it's almost seen badly if you aren't willing to do that, even though the whole shtick of live your dream, do what you love, is meant to help us do what we love. But it doesn't amount to that in the end. For a lot of people, some people it does, but not everybody. Because like I said, some people, the thing they love isn't something that makes money. It's not necessarily something that is creative. It's not something that creates a product all the time. You know, if someone just really loves hiking with their partner, that's just something they love. So they work their crappy job to afford everything so that they can end up having those adventures together. Well, how's that different than someone that does their crappy job of business and marketing entrepreneurship, which they hate and they don't like, in order to paint a bit and have it be something that makes them money? It's really not that different. The core energies around them, the core patterns that are there. But it's almost seen more valuable if you worked hard to have a label of a passion than if you worked hard to just have side recreations of pleasure. So that's another kind of error in the logic of this speech of do what you love, find your passion, live your dream. I want to mention this because it's so prevalent. It's interesting. We've moved from the robotic life to this do what you love, but without any of the required and realistic nuance of what that entails. And we actually just basically carry over the same shame and guilt, individualistic attitudes into do what you love. You know, it's like you have to work hard and suck it up. It's not easy to do what you love. And it's problematic. It's problematic because it almost it just redirects the responsibility onto the individual only, rather than it's in the past it's the responsibility isn't just on the individual, it's on the companies that are making these bad jobs and expecting these, you know, excessive work hours. It's on the managers, it's on the system that is making this bad. So like we take ourselves away from it, do what we love, and then we can make our life happen. But that's not how it works. Like, to make money from doing what you love, you still have to get money from other people. This means meeting their expectations or persuading them. This means creating contracts. This means being intertwined with basically the system still to get the funds required. As life becomes more and more expensive for a multitude of reasons, you know, corporate greed, inflation, etc., rising rent prices, rising food prices, so on and so forth, it becomes harder to make money doing what you love, especially if that's not guaranteed money, if that fluctuates over time compared to a steady job. Additionally, with more and more of this speech and more people in the world, and more people with iPhones, with computers, with ease of access of artistic creating tools, of creativity, we have a greater saturation of people doing what they love, creating products, creating content. Even me doing this is content, this is a creative endeavor. But the saturation has exploded in the last 10 years or so. You know, it's like, it's insane how many people are making things, creating things. And it's almost like you have to fight even harder in that mass of people to make money from the thing you're doing. You have to be either exceptional, or you have to market like very well, or, you know, you have to just be lucky, or a mix of those. Or be in like high demand, you know, something that just the world needs at this moment, or the world wants at this moment. So that's the funny thing, is like all of those requirements in this day and age to make money from doing what you love, they're almost entirely separate from the process of doing what you love. And that's the thing. That's where the superficiality is important. If you can jive with the superficiality of just having the label of doing what you love, of having a title, I'm an artist, I'm a yoga teacher, I'm a health coach, I'm a whatever, then that's good. But if you don't jive with that, which is what most people are going to experience, then it doesn't work. And there's a reason most people aren't going to experience the value of the superficial label of I am a musician, I am a health coach, whatever it is. The reason is passion itself, doing what you love, your dream, they aren't just images. They aren't just imaginations. They aren't just labels. They are visceral, empirical experiences in the moment, in a process. So it's not just like one simple experience. It's a flow of experience. We even have whole science and whole, psychological departments in academia studying flow states, studying this experience that happens with people doing what they love and getting in the zone. That's what passion is. That's what doing what you love is. It's an actual physical process that occurs. This can range from getting in the flow with music to just being engrossed in nature, to playing a video game and having a great time with your friends and doing really well, to just eating an amazing meal that's just blissful, to getting in the zone while running. It really can happen under many, many different circumstances. And that's the thing. For some, that zone, that flow, is going to happen in things that don't necessarily make money. And for the ones that could possibly make money from it because they're creating a product, that flow is a good chance that that's not going to happen if it's all about making money, if it's all about marketing, if it's all about business, if that's what's required to create financial stability from their passion, then it almost defeats the passion. The passion ends up changing because now it's not being in the flow, it's producing an image, it's doing certain gestures, it's being on the internet and marketing and promoting, and it's doing all these other things. So you can say that people should just suck it up in order to do that passion, but for a lot of people, being out of the flow, being outside their passion for that long isn't actually worth it. It isn't worth the little bit of flow states they get doing their passion. So you can have someone that just does a job they don't like, that makes money and helps them live, and then on the side they do their passion and they can enter the flow state. Or you have someone that does marketing on the side and then they get to enter their flow state and just sell the flow state, basically. They sell the passion. The difference is one's guaranteed money. That's the funny thing. You can almost enter the flow state better for some people by having a secure, stable job that might be robotic and not the best, but you're guaranteed income, you're guaranteed wealth, you're guaranteed your food, your shelter, these sort of things. That takes a lot of burden off the individual to enter flow states. For a lot of people, the uncertainty of marketing and business and selling your passion as a product to the world or content to the world is actually going to have so much stress related to it, so much uncertainty and instability that it can actually just get in the way of being passionate. It can get in the way of having that experience of flow, of love, and so on. And that's just another, sprinkle on this cake of why it doesn't make sense to preach and expect people to live their dream as we've been doing it. It makes more sense to include the nuance that, yes, promote people doing the things they love, but don't tie it to making money necessarily. Don't tie it to working in this hustle culture, because that really isn't for everybody. In fact, I'd argue that for most people, that isn't what doing what they love is. And so it's kind of toxic that we expect everyone to be a new type of robot, a new type of cog in the machine, just the one that does superficially a passion from a select few of passions. and expect people to tackle that uncertainty, that non-guarantee of basically survival, of shelter and food and medicine and clothes, in exchange for they do what they love. They do something that is labeled a passion. And so when we go into this field of creating content or trying to find our purpose in life, our meaning, all this stuff, yoga, health, love, excitement, joy, adventure, when we do all these things, we see people online that are funneled by an algorithm that do get to make their living off of that. But then we don't realize that we're in competition with all the people that don't make a living off of it. There's so many, people living out of their van, doing the van life. There's a lot that actually make money from it because of their online content, because of their side careers, or even just because they have a security net because of an old job. But then there's a lot doing that are making content, they are working hard, they are lovely individuals, and they're not making money from it. And they have to go stop and fruit pick, and they have to go stop and clean places and babysit, and they just have to do all these odd jobs in order to make it happen. Or even just they have to go to a place with Wi-Fi and do some IT job or some accounting job or some customer service job remotely. The thing is, that's most people, when you look at the statistics, aren't making money or enough money from what they're passionate about, and there's no guarantee they ever will. That's the thing. We almost expect, if you work hard enough, if you do all the right things, and you actually are good at the thing you do, and you make sure you're good at the thing you do because you worked really hard and you practiced a lot, you will make money. It just isn't the case. You might. Your odds are better if you work really hard at marketing and get really talented, but you're still not guaranteed. You just aren't. That's the way it is. That's why there's the old school perspective of parents getting worried if their kid wants to be an artist or a musician or a dancer or something, because they are afraid of not having stability themselves, and they love their kid and they don't want their kid to have to face that. And the thing is, statistically, that is the case, unfortunately. Statistically, someone could make a bit from, getting good at art in various ways, but then they will still need part-time jobs and little side things all the time. And some people are okay with that. Some people have the grit and the character that they can kind of hop from place to place, job to job, while, making a little bit of money doing their love, their passion. But some people aren't going to be able to do that very well either. And so the nuance is not present in that dialogue, in that expectation of doing what we love, in finding our ikigai, our purpose plus money. And it doesn't take into account how money's made, where it really is just other people giving it to us. So we basically have to meet the demands of the world no matter what we do. And how that usually includes a ton of work that is not the passion itself. And to expect people to suck up that hard work to do their passion and not realize that that's actually the same attitude that we were trying to get away from with the whole do your passion spiel. That's the problem, I think. And not to haven't even touched the toxicity of hustle culture, of workaholic culture, of content creation and saturation, of having to be fake and put on airs and basically make things at this point, people are putting AI content out, and AI photoshopped both pictures and videos of themselves on the internet and getting millions of views. The expectations are steering towards something excessively out of reach for many people, and I don't think the mindsets are holding up to the scrutiny and the realism of what is going on in people's lives and what is their dream and what does that mean to live their dream. Because it really doesn't mean they're going to make money. It doesn't mean they're going to be like workaholics at their dream. And that is the sad part, is that it's almost like there was empathy before. If you had to really work hard at a job you disliked to pay for your family and pay for your needs and your wants, But then, that's shifting towards like, oh, but we don't need to feel attached to that and limited by it. We can do what we love. But then there's almost a lack of empathy if you don't make money doing what you love. Then it's like, oh, it's your fault, you suck. It's not actually compassionate. It's basically another illusion and another lie of individualism wrapped in a pretty gift box of we're here to live our dream, but it really doesn't end up that way. So I want to make a video about that, because the funny thing is I have really been living my dream, doing all the things I love to do most of the time, getting quite good at certain things that I love to do since 2012. It's been like 13 years now. Some of the things I love change for sure, and they evolve and they grow and they shift, and I haven't made much money from anything that I loved. And that's just how it is, because what I love isn't marketing and business, and the little bit I did do wasn't enough. And so it's kind of like, how do we engage with that conversation? Am I worthless? I didn't work hard enough? Am I bad? Am I lazy because my dreams didn't make me money? Because I chose to do my dreams and not thing that I hated doing. That's a funny thing. It's people don't see that when people live their dreams, it usually is sucking. Either luck and just they have lots of money already, or they're so talented at that thing that it wows the world. But most of the time it's, no, they sucked it up and did all these other things they didn't like to do that one thing. How's that different than someone that sucks it up and does this job that they don't like to do, so that they can have the recreation with their family and their own desires that they like to do? How's that any different at the end of the day? And so I really did what I like to do majority of the time. But that wasn't business, that wasn't marketing, that wasn't making websites and networking, because I didn't like doing that. Like, I tried a little bit, but I actively just didn't like that. Just like someone won't like an accounting job, or someone won't like a construction job around heavy metals and industrial machinery. And that's why this conversation needs to happen, because we need to change our pressure we put on others for living their dream. So, thank you for watching. Almost not wrong.